Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jeevanam Kavibhiriditam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvi Grinanti Ye Bhurida Janaha. Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, recorded by M. Mahendranath Gupta, a disciple and apostle of the Master. Dakshineshware, Thakur Sri Ramakrishna, Tritiya Darshan. Sri Ramakrishna in Dakshineshwar, the third meeting of M with the Master. So he was talking about four kinds of jiva: Baddha Jeev, Mumukhu Jeev, Mukta Jeev, or Nitya Jeev. Bound souls, those who are struggling for liberation; Mukta Jeev, those who have liberated; Nitya Jeev, those who are ever free, never get into bondage. And he is giving the characteristics of each of them. Then he gives example of a fish being caught in net. So when the net is cast, there are some fish will never get caught in the net. They understand that once they get caught, they will be finished. So they simply don't get caught. Nitya Mukta, Nitya Jeev. There are some who, though getting caught, somehow struggle to escape and do escape. He gives the example here. দু চারটি ধাবাং ধাবাং করে জাল থেকে বেরিয়ে যায়, তখন জেলেরা বলে ওই একটা মাছ, মস্ত মাছ পালিয়ে গেল. Such a dramatic dhabang dhabang. Some of the big fish, they somehow find some loophole and then escape. These are Mukta Jeev, those who become free after getting caught in samsara. They never get seriously entangled, they escape. Then there are Mumukshu Jeev, who are struggling to get liberated. They are caught but still struggling. They know the consequences of being caught in the net. Then the last is the Baddha Jeev, those who are caught and do not make any effort to get free. They think that they are very safe, and finally they are killed, cut to pieces, fried and eaten. So all of us should be extremely careful. We are being fried in samsara. Samsara anala, the example given in the Vedanta, samsara anala dagdha, burnt, fried in the fire of samsara. In the Yaksha Prashna, in the Mahabharata, the story is very interesting. In the form of a story, such extraordinary pearls of wisdom are being taught. The Pancha Pandavas, 5 of them, 5 brothers, were moving around. They were feeling extremely thirsty and finding a pond. They wanted to go and drink some water. There was an Yaksha, a kind of a demigod, who was guarding this pond, and told them, don't drink unless I permit you, unless you answer my questions. But one by one, they were so thirsty, they ignored the warning of this Yaksha, drank water, and fell down unconscious. Yudhishthira, the eldest of them, the wisest of them, he waited and told the Yaksha, what do you want to say? Yaksha said, I will ask you some questions. You answer these questions and then I will permit you to drink. Then one by one he threw questions which form a wonderful compendium of questions and answers, full of wisdom, called Yaksha Prashna in Mahabharata. One question which is very famous, often discussed, often talked about is Kimascharyam. What is the wonder in this world? Yudhishthira says the greatest wonder is every day we see hundreds of people getting killed, dying because of so many causes. But still, the rest of the people who are alive think that they shall not die. They shall be eternally existing. Nobody can think of his own death, his or her own death. You can't think of your own destruction. That's the peculiarity in the world, which Vedantically interpreted means that you are eternal, undecaying, undying. You just don't die. The feeling that you are deathless comes to you unconsciously, though, because you are in reality deathless. Na jayate mriyate va. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is neither born nor does it die. Undecaying, deathless, eternal, immortal. Ahanyahani bhutani gachanti yama mandiram sesha sthirattvamichanti kimascharyamatav param. What can be a greater wonder than this? That every day, ahanyahani, so many beings are entering in the doors of death. Sesha, those who live, they think they shall remain and they desire immortality. They want to live eternally. They open the newspapers, open the television and see devastation, death. What a terrible thing, a terrible calamity. So many people were washed away by cyclones, so many people were dead by lightning, and you feel so sad. The next moment you are moving around, doing your own duties. You never for a moment feel that you also may die this moment. People suddenly die at a young age. People are extremely famous. So many instances we see every day. At such a young age, what has happened to him? Why? Sudden heart attack, suddenly infected by corona. Those who have comorbidity, those who are old, maybe 85, 90, they survive. A young person dies, you feel so sad about it. Perhaps you are older than the person who is dead, whose death report has come to you. You may be older and you feel so sad, so sorry. Oh, he is younger than me by about 10, 15 years. But even then, he passed away so early in life. Even for a moment, you don't think, I shall also pass away this very moment. Any time death may come, and therefore it is said, worship God. Think of Him, think of the eternal. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate, Samprapte Sannihite Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukrinkarane. Dukrinkarane is Sanskrit grammar. It means, by implication, any kind of secular knowledge. Your knowledge, your study, your great scholarship, everything will be simply reduced to nothingness the moment you die. So, Mudhamate, oh stupid fellow, oh foolish fellow, deluded fellow, Govindam Bhaja, worship God, worship God. Grihitaiva kesheshu mrityuna dharmamacharet. You practice religion. You go for worshipping God, cultivating higher spiritual thoughts. Shastras, scriptural study, meditation, and so on, as if death is catching hold of your hair. Anytime you may be lifted away from this world. So, grihita eva kesheshu, mrityuna, by mrityu, dharmamacharet, practice religion, practice spirituality. Sesha sthiratvam icchanti kimascharyamatah param. Then Yaksha asks another question. Ka varta? What's the news? We meet somebody after a very long time. Hey, kya khabar hai kya? What is the news? Then very interesting answer he gives. Oh, there's wonderful news. Great news. What is that? We have got a new cook. His name is very strange. He's called Mahakala, the great time. Time, the great devourer and swallower of everything. Kalo Jagad Bhakshakaha. Bhakshaka means who devours, who swallows everything. Jagad Bhakshaka, he simply swallows everything. Kalo Jagad Bhakshakaha. There is Shankaracharya's stotra on Shiva. Shiva Aparada Kshamapana stotram. So we have a cook called Mahakala. And as soon as he came, he wanted to purchase a huge cauldron. We call it Kodai. Huge cauldron he wanted to purchase, in which he wants to bake things, he wants to fry things. What is the name of that? Mahamoha. Great delusion. And what is the fuel he is using? Surya Agni. That is the fuel. And the indhana, which he is using, the firewood, Ratri and Deva, day and night. Using the day and night as firewood, and the fuel, which is sun and fire. And what are the instruments? The huge spoon which is required. If you want to cook something, you have to constantly stir it with a big spoon. It's called darbi. Masa and Rutu are the darbi. Months and seasons. Month after month rolls on, and every season goes on and on and on. Dinayaminyo sayam pratah shishiravasanto punarayatah kalah kridati gachatyayu tadapi namunchatyashavayu bhaja govindam govindam bhaja mudhamate samprapte sannihite kale nahi rakshati dukrinkarane. Day passes into night, night again breaks into day. Dinayamanyo, sayam prata, evening and morning. Shishira vasanto punarayata. Then you have rainy season, it is followed by winter, it is followed by summer. Seasons constantly come and go. Kala kridati, time is playing. Gacchati ayuhu, your ayu, your age is increasing, and constantly the entire body is moving towards decay and death. Art is long and life is short. Life is fleeting. Though our hearts stout and brave, still like muffled drums are beating funeral marches to the grave. Longfellow, the psalm of life, Jivan Gatha. Art is long. Study literature, philosophy, scriptures. Go on studying. There is no end to it. Time is fleeting. So what do? So many hundreds of thousands of varieties of subjects you need to learn. What do? Therefore, it is said, choose. Don't waste your time on things which are not useful for your spiritual growth. Swami Turiyanandaji gave a simple formula. Read only things written by a man of realization of God. Don't waste time reading too many things. Ananta Shastram Bahuvedidavyam Alpascha Kalo Bahavascha Vignaha Yat Sarabhutam Tadupasitavyam Hamso Yata Kshiramivambu Mishram. Beautiful poem in Sanskrit. Ananta Shastram, knowledge is endless. Bahu Veditavyam, hundreds of thousands of things are there to know. Alpascha Kalo Bhavascha Vignaha. The time is short and the obstacles are too many. We started classes and with great enthusiasm, so many people used to come and attend. Suddenly you have this coronavirus. People can't get out of their homes. People can't move around. People can't attend classes. Of course, the human mind is extremely intelligent. We found a way through technology. You have the YouTube, you have Zoom, you have Google Meet, you have chat. Somehow or other you connect to one another. May not be physical, but through technology. You call it the virtual meeting and virtual classes. This virtual is called Maya. Maya is not unreal. It is real, but not fully, totally real. I am talking to you and listening to me or seeing me. Is it unreal? No. You are listening. You are seeing me. So it is called virtual reality. The virtual reality is the reality of Maya. Art is long. Time is fleeting. Death is knocking at your door. Bhutani Kala Pachati iti Varta. This cook called Mahakala is cooking all beings, frying them, cooking them for eating. Pachati. This is the great news. Asmin Maha Mohamaya Katahe Suryagnina Ratri Divendhanena Masartudarbi Parighattanena Bhutani Kala Pachati Varta. What wonderful slokas in the Mahabharata. This is the Varta, this is great news. So this Baddha Jeev, the fish which is caught in the net and thinks that it is safe, like us, foolish, stupid people, we think we are safe. And we enjoy life, and now I'm tired, let me confine to my room. Most of the time I spend in the kitchen, cooking this, eating that, watching the television, playing cards. How strange. People have so much of time at their disposal, can't move out, don't have to move out. They're asked by their office, asked by the college or the university, please don't stir out of your room, stay put safe. Plenty of time at your disposal. We say, no, I have no time at all. I have to do online classes, I have to do this, I have to do that. And whatever time you have, keep on chatting, talking, discussing with people, cooking newer and newer things, eating, wasting time in playing cards and playing so many different games, watching the television. Time goes. And death is knocking at the door. Every day you're moving towards death. Though our hearts are stout and brave, still like muffled drums are marching funeral marches to the grave. Every heartbeat that you have, like a drum beat, when somebody is being taken to the grave, the funeral march, they have a huge drum and keep beating the drum. There's a drum beat is indicative of the funeral march, and the poet says every beat of your heart is a drum beat, which is the funeral march to the grave. We need not be frightened, but this is the reality. This is the truth. We just don't have the time. Time is running out. Kala pachati iti varta. Shankaracharya therefore says, Kalo jagad bhakshaka. Ayurinashyati pasyatam pratidinam. Yatikshayam yauvanam pratyayanti gata punarna divasa. Kalo jagad bhakshaka. Lakshmi stoya taranga bhanga chapala vidyuchalam jeevitam tasman mam sharanagatam sharanada raksha rakshadhuna. O Lord Shiva, raksha, protect me, adhuna, now. Why? Ayur nashyati pashyatam. I'm just seeing, and time is flowing. I'm increasing in age. Suddenly I realize I've become old. My teeth are falling down and I can't see properly. I can't eat and digest my food. Ayur nashyati pashyatam pratidinam yatikshayam yauvanam. My youth, so proud we are of our youth. My eyes, my hair is still black. I can still see properly. I can walk straight. How young, handsome, beautiful you are. Ah, you look so handsome, so youthful. Yeah, I am still quite youthful. Pratidinam yati kshayam yavvanam. Yavvanam is decaying. Your youth is decaying every moment. The day which has gone will never come back. Pratyayant punarna divasa. That days which are gone will never come back. Vidyuchalam jeevitam, the whole of your life is like the flash of a lightning. Suddenly it flashes and goes away. And wealth, money, property. Lakshmi is toya taranga bhanga chapala. Lakshmi, wealth. It is like waves and water. And the water, suddenly there are waves. Next moment it is gone. Vidyuchalam jeevitam. Tasmad, therefore, He Sharanada, O Lord, giver of refuge. From Raksha Adhuna, give me refuge. Who am I? Sharanagatam, I have taken refuge in you. Tasmat Tvameva Sharanam Mama Dina Bandho. Swamiji wrote this hymn to be sung every day during the Aratrikam evening Vesper service by everybody all over the world. You may talk big, but you are helpless. Time is simply devouring you. So come on, rush. Sri Ramakrishna told Swami Niranjanananda, Niranjan, din jai re, kokhon Ishwar labh korbi. Niranjan, days are passing away. When will you realize God? That means when you will become serious about spiritual life. Baddha Jeev, bound soul, does not even know that he is bound, is happily caught in this net. So he says, বিষয়ে আসক্ত হয়ে থাকে ভগবানকে ভুলে থাকে ভুলেও ভগবান আর চিন্তা করে না even by mistake he does not think of God. Baddha Jivera is explaining in detail what are the characteristics of a bound soul. Baddha Jivera সংসারে কামনে কাঞ্চনে বদ্ধ হয়ে আছে হাত পা বাঁধা. Those who are bound souls are caught in the samsara, in this worldliness, Kamini Kanchana. Repeatedly uses this phrase. Kamini is not exactly a woman. We will make a mistake if we think Kamini is a woman. The seductive aspect of a woman, which makes a man, a worldly man, lose himself in infatuation. And when Ramakrishna used to talk to women, he used to say Purush Kanchana. It's a peculiar way in which God has designed this world, Mahamaya. Paranchi khani vidrudat swayambhus tasmat parang pashyati antaratman. Khani indriyani paranchi has made all the indriyas outward going. Tasmat parang pashyati, and therefore it sees outside. It does not turn inward. Some rare people, kaschid dhira, pratyagatmanam aikshat, he turns his indriyas inward, avrita chakshu, all the indriyas, shabda sparsha rupa rasa gandha, chakshu karna nasika atvagyihva, he focuses inwardly on the Atman, inward self. Why? Amritatvamichan, desiring immortality. The Swayambhu, the Mahamaya, has made everything outgoing. You know for certain this is not good for you, but still you go. Arjuna raised this question in the Bhagavad Gita in the 3rd chapter. Arjuna vacha, atha kena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichannapi varshneya baladivaniyo. O Lord, how is it that a person is helplessly drawn to the path of sin? Impelled by what does a man tread the path of sin? Anichannapi, even though he does not want, perhaps he is reluctant, but still helplessly he is moving towards that. What is that? Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, the blessed Lord said, Kama yesha krodha yesha rajo guna samudbhava mahashano mahapapma vidhyena mihavairinam. It is kama, it is krodha. Kama and krodha, lust and anger, are just the same thing reversed. When lust, desire is stopped, is restrained, is held back, immediately you get angry. Remember, a person who is given to terrible temper, anger, that person also will be lustful. Kama and Krodha are two deadly enemies which are responsible for a person treading the path of sin. That is Sri Krishna's answer, verdict. So he is discussing the characteristics of bound souls. Kamini kanchane asakto yathake. Attached to the indriyas, senses. Here kamini means the seductive aspect of a woman, that aspect which makes a man forget his higher self, the infatuation. You can see even people holding very, very high positions in society, highly honored, highly revered, even the so-called holy men, how infatuation of kama comes and kills them. Terrible it is. Mahamaya is very terrible. So Sri Ramakrishna says, take refuge in Mahamaya, tears in your eyes with folded palms, and your ego completely smashed. Cry and pray to the Lord, oh Lord, save me. Sri Ramakrishna taught us how to pray. So touching. Tears used to come to people who heard this. Karuna Makha Shore Likhaji. With a tone which is tinged with infinite tenderness and pathos, poignancy. Ma mitomar sharanagata sharanagata. Deha shukha chainama लोकमान्य चाइना अष्टसिद्धि चाइना केवल यही करो जन तुम्हार श्री पाद पद में शुद्धा भक्ति है निष्काम अमला अहेतु की भक्ति आर जनमा তোমার ভুবন মোহিনী মায়ায় যেন মুগ্ধ না হই তোমার মায়ার সংসারের কামনে কাঞ্চনের উপর ভালোবাসা যেন কখনো না হয় মা তোমা বই আমার আর কেউ নাই আমি সাধনহীন ভজনহীন জ্ঞানহীন ভক্তিহীন তোমার শ্রী পাদপদ্মে আমায় ভক্তি দাও Lord's Prayer, as in the Bible they say, give us this, Father in heaven, give us this day our daily bread, etc. Every day Christians chant this Lord's Prayer. This is the Lord's Prayer in the Kathamrita. Memorize this in any language you like. In very simple Bengali. This is original. You memorize that and chant it every day. Ma, ami tomar sharanagata, mother. I've taken refuge in you. I've taken refuge in you. Deha sukha chaina ma. I do not want bodily comforts and pleasures of senses. Lokamanno chaina. I don't want fame. I don't want name. I don't want khyati. I don't want to be lauded by the world. Ashtasiddhi chaina. The various miraculous powers, the 8 great powers. Ashtasiddhi chaina. Keval ei karo. Please do only this much. Tomar Sri Padapad me Shuddha Bhakti hai. Let me have pure, unalloyed devotion at your lotus feet. Arjanama, and again, তোমার মায়ার সংসারের কামিনী কাঞ্চনের উপর ভালোবাসা যেন কখনো না হয় let me not be infatuated, drawn, let me not love the senses, your divine maya comprising kamini kanchana, lust and greed. Let my mind not be drawn to that infatuation. Mother, please protect me. কামিনী কাঞ্চনের উপর আমার ভালোবাসা যেন কখনো না হয় why মা তোমা বই আর কেউ নাই I have nobody mother except you are my only refuge আমি ভজনহীন সাধনহীন I do not know how to worship you bhajana I do not know how to do sadhana austerities penances japa meditation Gyanheen, Bhaktihin. I have no knowledge, I have no devotion. Tomar Sri Pada Padme Shuddha Bhakti Dao. Give me pure, unalloyed devotion to your lotus feet. What a divine prayer. It is there in the Gospel, it is there in the Kathamrita. Memorize this, repeat this, think of this, contemplate this. কামিনী কাঞ্চনে আসক্ত হয়ে থাকে বদ্ধ জীব they are drawn to the senses and they are happy about it and they rejoice in the senses so tell your mind oh mind what is there in rejoicing in kamini kanchana in woman and gold in lust and greed a little pleasure that you get there is nothing compared to the infinite joy that you get at the lotus feet of the mother. Be like a bee which sits on the lotus of Kali's feet, Shama's feet, and drink the divine nectar. And don't go and sit on small flowers called the senses, sense objects, and sip that honey. You have divine madhu. মজলো আমার মনুভ্রমরা শ্যামাপদ নীল কমলে শ্যামাপদ নীল কমলে কালীপদ নীল কমলে মজলো আমার মনুভ্রমরা Very favorite song of Ramakrishna. He used to sing it very often. Kamalakanta. He said, oh mind, comparing the mind to a bee. Manu Brahmara. Brahmara is a bee. Sip the honey, the divine madhu in the Kalipada Nil Kamale, in the blue lotus of Kali's feet, Shama Pada Nil Kamale, the blue lotus of Shama, Divine Mother's feet. Vishaya madhu tuchha holo, kamadi kushum shakale, majlo amar manu bhramara. Vishaya madhu tuchha holo. The madhu, the small amount of honey that you sip in the various sense objects, Kamani Kanchana, Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasagandha, you listen to some music and you feel happy. Shabda Sparsha, your touch, hugging and touching, some pleasure you get out of it. Rupa, by seeing beautiful forms. Rasa, by tasting various things. And Gandha, by fragrance. Entire world is run by this. Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Gandha. Scent industry is $1 billion industry. How many different varieties for enjoyment. Swamiji said beautifully, Vivekananda, he says, in the West you are experimenting how much a man can possess. In India we have experimented how little a man can possess. In the West, if somebody says, I want to enjoy this world, 100,000 opportunities will be presented to him. Come on, enjoy this way, that way, and so on. In India and in the West, somebody says, I want to renounce and go, there will be nobody who will be supporting him. In India, if somebody says, I want to enjoy this world, all doors will be shut. No scope for enjoyment. And if somebody says, I want to go to the top of that mountain, look at the tip of my nose for the rest of my life and fast and meditate, hundreds of people will be following him with food and clothes. You support tapasya, you support austerity, you support renunciation, you support unworldliness. That's India. And in the West, they support worldliness, different types of enjoyment, varieties of enjoying this world. Fundamental difference. The whole Indian psyche is oriented towards giving up, tyaga. Even a child will say, what is there in this world? Even a man in the street will say, Are jagat mein kya hai, trikal mein kuch nahi hai jagat mein. There's nothing in the world to enjoy. Ishwari hi satya hai. God alone is true. It is there in our DNA, it is there in the genes. We have been taught, we have been nurtured, we have been groomed with this idea from childhood. Generation after generation, millennia upon millennia, this one thought of worldliness, otherworldliness, renunciation, tyaga, and rejecting worldly enjoyment and getting absorbed in the divine joy of God's beauty and power. That's India. That's why he says, but the Baddha Jiva does not understand all this. Baddha Jivara Shangshare Kamani Kanchane Baddha Hoyache Hatpa Badha. Their hands and feet, they are tied, they are helpless, slaves to their senses. We talk about freedom. Now so much of talk about freedom, rights. What rights do you have? Your divine right is to assert your immortality as the divine spirit. That is your birthright. What kind of freedom you want? You want freedom from the senses or you want freedom of the senses? Freedom of the senses binds you. You let your senses free. and the senses go out like wicked horses in a horse carriage. That is a simile given in the Kathopanishad. Tushta iva sarathe. The sarathi is the buddhi, and the buddhi is uncontrolled, unfocused, cannot determine what is right and wrong, confused, and all the horses, they don't obey him and then take the carriage and just crashes somewhere. This is freedom of the senses. Most of us in society who shout, I want freedom, you want freedom of the senses. But those who seek freedom from the senses, they will conquer their own body and mind and senses. What kind of freedom do you have? We are all slaves to our senses. My eye says, see this. There's a television, there's a movie, whole night you watch this. There's a compulsion of the senses which simply drag my mind into that, and I slavishly follow it. My eyes say, watch this. Drishya, Rupa. My ear says, hear this song. Whole night you hear some music and dance around, tired. Sparsha. My skin says you tickle your nerves through various kinds of touches, enjoyment. Rasa, go on eating this and that, taste. I'm a highly diabetic, but I want to taste mangoes and rasagullas. In spite of knowing that it is detrimental to me, my senses will not allow me. Come on, go, taste. Gandha, smell. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. These senses are dragging me outside like a slave. I am running behind them. My mind is not under control, and I call myself a free being. I am an independent person. I want freedom. Ami Shadin Cheta. In Bengali, it's a very common phrase. I am independent. I am fiercely independent. I have my own opinion. I have my own life. I don't want all this. Nobody can control me. What kind of freedom you have? Your senses are making you dance to their tune. Being a slave to your senses, helplessly dancing to their wicked tunes, you call yourself free? He conquers all who conquers self. Swami Vivekananda said this in the Song of the Sannyasin. He is the great conqueror who has conquered his own self, his own lower self. Uddhared atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hyatmano bandhu atmaiva rupuratmanaha. Raise yourself by your own self and do not demean yourself. I am a human being. I am an enlightened person. I am an educated person. I should not degrade myself. You are your own friend. You are your own enemy. There is nobody who is dragging you down. You are dragging yourself down. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jita. Atmana jita. Jita atma. One who has conquered his own self. Vijitatma, Jitatma, these words are used so many times in the Bhagavad Gita. Indriyan indriyarthebhyastasya prajna pratisthita. A person who has withdrawn his indriyas, the senses, from the indriya artha, the sense objects. He is a man of steady wisdom. He is a man of Brahmajnana. This is Brahma Pratishtha. Esha Brahmi Sthiti, established in Brahman. Who is he? Was completely conquered his senses and withdrawn his senses from the sense objects. So the freedom that we normally seek in the world is slavery. A person who has conquered his own self is free. Hatpa Bandha, he is not free. He thinks he is free, he may have money, he may have a position, he may have power, but once the position goes away, he is a nobody because his own worth is zero. He is adding imaginary and false objects onto himself, thinking them to be worthy. His position is worthy, his wealth is worthy, his knowledge is worthy, but nothing is worthy. You are not established in your own higher self. We gain so many things from outside, but we have lost our own soul. Carl Jung, the famous psychologist who was a disciple of Freud and broke away from him, he wrote a book, Modern Man in Search of a Soul. What is the modern man searching for? He is searching for his own soul. He has lost himself. Jesus the Christ famously said, what if you have gained everything in the world but you have lost your own self? That's why Bhagavad Gita says, possess your own self. There's a very significant phrase in the Bhagavad Gita called Atmavan. Traigunya Vashaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvando Nitya Sattvasto Niryogakhema Atmavan. Very interesting phrase. Called Matu Pratyaya in Sanskrit means possessing, having. A person who possesses dhana, wealth, is called dhanavan. A person who possesses qualities is called gunavan. So Atmavan means a person who possesses the Atma, possesses the self. Very interesting. Don't we all possess our own selves? No. It appears as if we have ourselves with us, but our selves are all gone, invested, hopelessly moving away from the center of gravity, which is my own self, into 100,000 attractions of the world. When we were young, we possessed ourselves. Quietly sitting, a child doesn't need company. I don't know whether you've watched the children playing. They'll sit by themselves, they'll play, then if you watch it, say, hey, don't watch me, go away. They just don't need company. And therefore, everybody wants a child's company. Very strange. One Swami told me beautifully, Swami Bhajananandaji, what a wonderful conception he gave me that has stuck to me and elevated me so much. He said, you see, a child is just self-possessed, maybe out of ignorance. It is simply finding joy in itself. It is Atma Rama, finding rest in itself. Atma Rata, absorbed in himself. Of course, out of a veil of ignorance is there. If we possess ourselves, everybody will be attracted to us. If you want to attract people, the best and the easiest way is not to go out but be completely absorbed in your own self, higher self. This is called Atma Rama. Look at a person sitting quietly. Look at a picture of Holy Mother Sharada Devi. Ordinary housewife on the outside. Her face, her movements, her talks, so attractive and so sweet. Look at Ramakrishna in Samadhi. Completely absorbed in his own higher self. Immediately he attracts you. The moment you begin to invest yourself in something outside, you become empty. And when you make yourself empty, nobody is attracted to you. Only when you are full, you get to attract people. When you are empty, people know there is no point in going to you. You yourself empty. Oh, that fellow is invested himself in too many places. When we grow up, from completely being self-absorbed and self-possessed, we start investing. When we reach teenage, we invest in our friends, invest in women, invest in worldly attractions, and invest in bank, money, credit card, Android phone, laptop, computer, tablet, all kinds of gadgets, and in your position, your packages. Now the latest management term is, what's the package that you are getting? They don't talk about salary. And the package, 10K, 15K. 100K. This is the package. So you are proud. So you have invested your soul in 100,000 attractions outside of you. So where are you? You are in the 100,000 things, and you yourself per se in your own center of consciousness are just empty. So nobody is attracted to you. You feel lonely. You run around with people. You want to talk to them. You want to interact with them. You want to have friendship with 100,000 people. Facebook, Twitter, blog. How many varieties of Mahamaya's attractions. You can't keep quiet. Then you put something, somebody says like, somebody says dislike, and you block somebody, and then you open somebody else, and then he says something against you, and then something for you. Endlessly you spend time in tears and smiles, interacting with people outside virtually. What a terrible Maya. Somebody get amazed how people spend their times. We have very, very little time. Where is the time for socializing? At least now we are aging, we are becoming old. Our youth is going away, strength is decaying. Wake up, wake up. This is the message Mr. Ramakrishna constantly gives in the Ramakrishna Kathamrita. We become lonely because we are empty within. And anybody who seeks others' company is disliked by people whose company we are seeking. Remember the psychological message. If you want to be a source of attraction to others, just stay put within yourself, your higher self, be full. Look at mother's face. Sharada Devi, she says, Dukkho ki jantum na, hridaye jano sabshomoy ananদের purna ঘট virajaman. I didn't know what was sorrow, as if a picture of joy, full of joy, is placed in my heart constantly. When you are full, people get attracted to you. When you are lonely, what does it mean? Let us analyze this. Loneliness. I go to you for company. I feel very lonely. Come on, let's talk. Let us go for a walk. Let us go for a movie. Let us go to the restaurant and eat something. I want your company. I like you. So when I want somebody else's company, I feel empty. I feel lonely. So I'll seek his or her company. What does it mean? I am just alone. I'm feeling very lonely and upset, unhappy. That means, what does it mean, loneliness? I'm in my own company. I have no other company except myself. That means I dislike my own company. Conclusion, very simple. If I feel upset being lonely, that means I'm upset about my own self. I dislike myself. Now the question is, if I dislike my own company, why should you like my company? Simple logic. If I dislike my own company, why should anybody on earth like my company? Therefore, a person who runs behind others' company will always be despised ultimately and disliked by the company that he seeks. Maybe a very harsh truth, but it is true. Very often, very quickly, that company breaks. You weep and she weeps, he weeps, and there's a break. It has to happen. So, if you really want joy and people should get attracted to you, feel happy in your company, just learn to love your own company, which is the company of your own higher self. It's called Atmarama, one who finds delight and joy and arama, rest in his own self. Atmakrida, who sports in his own self. Atmarata, who is absorbed in his own self. Atmakrida Atmarati Kriyavan Esha Brahmavidam Varishtha Mundagopanishad. Yastu Atmatrupta, one he is completely satisfied in himself, higher self. Atma Santushta, these are words used in the Bhagavad Gita. Tasya karyam na vidyate. Such a person doesn't have to do anything else. Atma Rata, Atma Krida, Atma Santushta, Atma Tripta, Atmapriyananda. Beautiful name which my Guru gave me. Absolutely unworthy as I am to carry this name. A person who finds delight, Ananda, in being Atmapriya. Love your own higher self. Don't invest your love in things outside. Invest them in your own self. Atmapriyananda. These are ideas which are given to you for elevation of your own soul. So Sri Ramakrishna says here, Hatpa Badha. That means you bind yourself hands and feet. Nobody binds you. Swamiji says in the song of the Sannyasin, Swami Vivekananda writes, Thine only is the hand that holds the rope that drags thee on. Then cease lament. Let go thy hold, Sannyasin bold. Say Om Tat Sat Om. You are holding a rope and crying, oh, the rope is dragging me, rope is dragging me. Rope is not dragging you. Why are you holding it? Let go thy hold. So the whole secret in spiritual life, as Buddha constantly said, let go, drop it. All great men have said, the clinging to life, this thirst for life forever quench, Swamiji said. This thirst for life, clinging to life. You are clinging constantly to something and then saying that something is dragging you. That is not dragging you, but you are clinging, you are holding on. You are helplessly being dragged is because of your attachment. So Sri Ramakrishna says, Baddha Jeev, Hatpa Badha. It's a very profound statement. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukampa Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namamaha. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.